Welcome to Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Closson, your source for insights into the world of substance misuse prevention. Each episode, Dave brings you the latest strategies, expert discussions, and real-life success stories designed to empower your work and inspire impactful change. Whether you're a prevention professional, community advocate, or simply passionate about making a difference, this podcast will keep you informed and motivated. Get ready to lead with a confidence that drives lasting results. Let's lead the change together.
Every heartbeat tells a story. Fall, feel, rise. That's the pulse of resilience, and it's the heartbeat of this year's World Resiliency Week. This episode is a multicast episode done with our partners at the Unnecessary Harm podcast with host Shane Varcoe, Executive Director of the Dalgarno Institute. Today we're diving into World Resiliency Week 2026, an internationally partnered platform bringing together prevention leaders, community change agents, and resilience architects from across the globe. Together, they unpack what falling, feeling, and rising actually looks like in the body, in the community, and in the moments that shape us every single day.
Hey, welcome back to the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Good to have you with us, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome on board. There might be a few new listeners today because of the guests we have. Since the launch of World Resiliency Week in 2023, there's been a steady growth of this internationally partnered platform. Now with over 40 partners and 8 ambassadors from most continents, we have seen some exceptional resources be produced and effectively deployed. Today's guests are part of this year's dream team of architects, my words, not theirs, behind this World Resiliency Week campaign, fusing prevention strategy, lived grit, and nervous system science into one powerful resilience framework. Dave brings the frontline edge of military service, global prevention leadership, and community mobilisation. Jen brings deep expertise in trauma recovery, embodied resilience, and elite human performance, shaped by nearly 2 decades with DARPA and working in the US Air Force. Together, they translate resilience from concept to practice, from pressure to pulse, from disruption to growth. This year's campaign theme is Fall, Feel and Rise, the pulse of resilience. Today we get to chat with two of those architects, Jen Schneeman and Dave Closson. Welcome to the Unnecessary Harm podcast. Good to have friends on the other side of the desk.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure.
Excellent. I'm the newbie, so thanks for having me as well.
You are the newbie, and we're going to get into that, Jen, because we are going to drill down a little bit into what you guys do. And when I use the word architect, it was deliberate because architects are people who have a whole of project vision. They understand top down, bottom up, every aspect of it. And I think that's really important for our listeners to get a handle on that, because this is not just a couple of, actors having a crack, to use an Australian colloquial, but these are people that are really invested in this space and have got a lot of skin in the game. So it's really important for us to kind of give it that. Now, you two guys are part of the dream team. And to be fair, there are two other wonderful actors in this group, Schneeman from India and Adam from Australia, which we'll be talking to them later on in the week, actually, which is going to be good. Probably a different conversation, but same subject, which is great. And we're going to get a bit of a handle today on the journey, not just of this campaign's development, of this year's campaign's development, but, what investment you guys bring to that and how that informs this burgeoning, I think, quite exciting new project, and it's exciting to see what's happened and being part of that journey with you guys. It's great. So, Jen, look, again, you're the newbie, your words, and newbie to our podcast. So it's certainly not newbie to the Dalgarno Institute, a newbie to our sector, and a wonderful actor in this space, and it's great to have you here. But I want to talk a little bit about not only what you've contributed to this particular project, but what you do. And a little bit of the journey. I mean, we could spend probably, no doubt, hours and hours on the length of the journey you've been on and what that's brought into your world and what in turn you've brought from that to the world, which is great. So we can go as where you need to go. But I'm interested in what makes you tick And particularly in that space where you worked with and the whole burnout thing, which I think is really powerful. And having been a person who's been through burnout 4 times, I know I'm a basket case, so I need to be worked on clearly. But I get that, and this is really special to me. But tell us a little bit about your journey, your background, and not just the burnout issue, but your involvement obviously in the military space and what that's meant for your and the work that you now do and what you deliver globally.
Shane, you asked what makes me tick, and just joining you all, I literally can feel the pulse of my heart right now, just because being in a new space, the uncertainty of conversation and question. I just wanted to name the fact that my heart's beating a little faster, and just noticing that is very helpful. It's very human, and I'm not going to override it. In fact, I just want to bring it into conversation right now, just to notice that there's a thud because this is important to me, and showing up in this space with you guys. And so I just wanted to name that as a human.
Beautiful.
And I'm also noticing my feet on the ground and my sits bones in the chair. And what makes me tick is quite literal, but it's energy. It's the energy, the vitality of all things. And I'm a soul-driven scientist. Got the science, got the spirit, but I'm a trauma-informed nervous system specialist and a burnout prevention expert. And so I guide leaders and teams to reduce stress, restore nervous system health, but really to reclaim their personal energy so we can live and lead with real-time resilience. And that the in-the-moment knowing of how you feel. There's a fancy term for it. We call it interoception, but it's the body's sense awareness of itself, of how do I feel in this moment. And then do we have the tools to meet that moment and say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. All right. And that tool to be able to meet that moment, just so we can continue to show up time and time again with our whole self, not our perfect self, our whole self.
Yeah. Wow, that was succinct and quite powerful, actually. And I want to just explore that authenticity moment there, and that's something that I think our listeners would value. That real time, I'm here, I'm present, I'm mindful, and mindfulness is a buzzword in the sector. We hear a lot of that. It's important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to diminish it, but you were sort of tapping into that kind of space, but there was more going on there. And when you're talking about, and that was that term you used again, that technical term about
interoception.
Interoception. There you go, yes. Listeners. Interoception. That's something I've learned today, and I trust you guys to chase that one as well when you hear that. But I think helping people not just get a handle on how to manage an issue or manage a problem, manage an emotion. Often our culture and our world and what we're immersed in, drives us. And I'm going to borrow from a very old throwback, Stephen Covey or Covey, the quadrants. We jump from the urgent and immediate to the non-urgent, and we tend to live in those two spaces. Pressure to chill out, pressure to chill out, and we bounce back and forward rather than actually being strategic in what we do. So when it comes to burnout, without giving away secrets or free session for the listeners, what are some of the issues? Because obviously you deal with in a military space, not just military clearly, but there's a lot going on in that space that requires a level of expertise and insight that obviously clearly you can bring. But what are some of the common, let's use that word, what are the common factors in leaders or in people just in general that lead to burnout, and what are some of the things that you can quickly identify and help them work through that? Sorry. Yeah.
You named one of them. That's really important. It's the bouncing from the go, the urgency, to the non-urgent, but in our terms, we talk about go, collapse, and those swings between driving hard, especially as a high-functioning human, and just anyone that's living on planet Earth right now, let's be honest, there's a lot of signal, there's a lot of noise, and how can we pluck the signal through the noise is what I'm really interested in. There's a military correlation there, but just thinking about how much stimuli, energy, the demands for your attention are out there, it's a lot, right? And it's coming at us nonstop in many different ways. And so just that go, 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 if we don't know how to come down slowly from those high octane states, those high drives, we will crash.
Yeah.
And the reverse is also true, that once we do have that slow that really fast transition and just crash, how we come out of it, usually we just are out of a cannon right again. And so and so the rhythm, we lack rhythm, we lack rhythm, we lack the swings of, it's okay to like be a high driving human. We know how to do pressure. We can tolerate, as humans, we tolerate stress. Some of us more successfully than others, sure, but really just the part of it is the rhythm, that we lack rhythm, and then we override those signals of basic bodily functions like eating, like nourishing, drinking water, going to the bathroom. And that's what just shuts down all these signals of our interoception asking for care. Right. And so we just,
it's good.
we shut it down and keep going. And then our body signals get louder in my case. And I know many of us humans experience chronic pain next, where there are aches and pains because the signals just need to get louder. So it's like, will someone pay attention to me?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I would
that's
throw
good.
in.
I like that. And I think the suppression, particularly for my world, I can speak to that personally, so that's speaking to my heart, is, I tend to suppress, and it's to suppress the signal. And the overriding is an outcome of that suppression. Okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling distressed. I'm feeling sometimes anxious, but it's the distress and the overwhelming and pressure, and I've got to get this done. So I push that down. I push that down, and it does manifest. It may not manifest in a behavioural outcome, but it'll manifest in, I've got AF, atrial fibrillation, which developed from an oversubscription to adrenaline. I managed stress with adrenaline back 20 years ago, and I had to get that all dealt with, and still dealing with that, because the ticker went, okay, you're not listening to me. I'm just going to jack up. And that's what sort of part of the thing that happens. So the reason I'm saying that, I can identify with that, and learning how to do that. And Dave's been, we'll get to you in a minute, Dave, because I want to tap into what you've been doing lately too. But Dave's been really a wonderful tacit support in this space as well, because of his experience. But so
Real
yeah,
quick, I know that Dave has lived experience with this too.
Correct.
I would love to. Yeah, Dave, you were.
That's the segue. And just before we segue, beautifully done, Jen. That was the journey. That was the script. But before we do that's tapping into the very theme of the pulse of resilience. Fall, feel, rise, and those are all intentional steps. They're not reactionary steps. The fall may be a reaction, but the feel and the rise, you be intentionalizing those so they can become tooled to fulcrums, which we'll talk about later on, fulcrums for change. But yeah, Dave, tell us your lived experience, clearly from the military perspective. Just give our listeners a little bit more into that space.
Yeah, let me, from my perspective, let me try to tell you what Jen does. And that Jen was my coach for quite some time and helped me a lot. And so layering on what you said, Jen, the trauma focus, the military perspective too, that I brought in, and how a lot of my go was the fact that I didn't want to rest. I wouldn't let myself rest because of my trauma, because of the work that I needed to do on myself. And so in working with Jen, I had the knowledge, the better understanding of the nervous system, the you, and how I do need to rest, and that it's important to rest, and that it's okay to rest. Like I needed to have that understanding to give myself permission. Then I was better able to actually listen to my body and understand what it needs in the different moments throughout my day. And not like, let's take things off my plate so I'm not going to be stressed, so I have less to deal with, because that's not going to happen. but how can I be better prepared ahead of time and in real time to navigate and manage those stressors while also still working on and healing myself from the inside. And we were able to map where that the trauma is literally stored in my body. I could map now and feel it and talk to it and work with it. Yeah. And in doing that, after having gone through therapy and trauma recovery program, I didn't have the tools to do that. They gave me some language and some words and different ways to think about my trauma, but they didn't give me the tools to work with when I notice my pulse is going up, when I notice I'm fidgety, when I'm noticing I'm not as comfortable in my surroundings, I'm in that hypervigilant state. But now I have the tools. I have the awareness. I have the tools. I can make the choice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have the practice where I know those tools work too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Nah, again, not a mutually gratifying and mutually edifying moment. It was that's just in time reality, guys. And I think those listening, you really want you to just take that little snapshot. And it's not an advertisement for a project or a program or a process, but it is a very, very powerful, again, snapshot. It's the best word for it, of how important this is to be fully aware in this space. Again, not hypervigilant, trying to figure it all out, but fully aware. And of course, substance use now ticks into this. When people are experiencing these things, they don't have the language to articulate, and more importantly, they don't have the vehicle to engage it effectively and properly and healthily. Then they tend to react. Again, the reaction is, I need to feel better. And so I engage with often a substance or an activity that makes me feel better. And what that does is, again, it's just another level of suppression. So that's great, Dave. Thank you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what have you been up to in the last 12 months? And work-wise, what have been some of the key themes, the key subject matter that keeps coming to the fore in the space you're working in? And you too, Jen, what are some of the rhythms of culture that you're seeing continuing to present that you have to engage with, to bring assistance to coach through, to amend, to empower? What are some of the things you guys have experienced? Go with you, Dave, first. Yeah.
Ooh, how much time we got?
As long as you want, my friend.
Yeah. Actually, I've been having a lot of conversations around the military connected community. I would attribute that a lot to my own healing and my ability now to openly talk about my lived experience, not just with a trauma dump or a war story, but with a true learning and transformation. So I'm being asked to do that more and more. But in those conversations, I'm also talking about one of the big turning points for my own transformation was when I started seeing positive, hope-focused messaging instead of just problem-focused messaging. I put up the stats that say 22 veterans die a day. PTSD is a big, big problem. And when I was in my dark, dark days, that messaging didn't inspire hope. It didn't make me feel loved or supported. It just normalized that this is my new normal and it's just going to suck.
Yeah, wow.
And
that's an important distinction, mate. Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so I'm having this conversation. I'm showing the difference in the messaging. It's black and white. It's like, hey, how do you think this would feel? You are strong. You are brave. You're not alone. Versus PTSD is a big problem. Every veteran has PTSD.
Yeah.
And so I'm having those conversations about, to quote Dr. Jeff Linkenbach, the positive exists and it's worth growing. How can we talk about the positive? So if we say, 30 of our youth are drinking every single month. Hey, guess what? 70% are making positive, healthy choices.
Yeah.
And how that can start to shift the norm. So I'm talking about that a lot, especially because it's just so near and dear to my own personal transformation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that proactivity, I like that. And Jen, I get you to tap in on this as well.
Yeah.
That proactivity, and it's not just about let's be positive, let's say positive things and be positive and upbeat. And, that, again, I'm not trying to make fun of that, but if that's just a motif and not a resource, then it becomes, again, another one of those cliches that people say, well, you're just a nice, positive, happy person. Good for you. I'm not. But resourcing that upbeat thing, and with the way you just said that, Jen, in your context, obviously you work a lot with young people as well. What are you finding in that space?
specifically with the young people, is they want to know about themselves. They really want to know what makes them human. In one of the grants that I've had over the last 5 years, Hey, I'm Here, Ohio, was all about rehumanizing community and understanding through a trauma-informed nervous system lens how our energy system works. The energy of our thoughts. Sometimes they're tuned up and going very fast, and other times they're slow. And emotions can feel intense and fast and quick, and other times emotions can feel slow and low. And so looking at our human, how we show up physically, the space that we take up, how we can have just inherent fluctuations. It's going to fluctuate. Our energy will shift. And at some point along the way, in the last millennia or two, I feel have this misunderstanding that our energy is always supposed to be solar, the sun, on, go, 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 right, Dave? Yes.
Yeah.
And that we have, and maybe we don't know how to slow down. Slowing down doesn't feel safe. I know in my family of origin, it's just performers, just go, go, go. And, movie time is you're always doing something else too, and hopping up and sitting down. Just a funny example, but also very true. So the youth want to know about their energy, and they want to have language to understand their experience. That maybe it's, especially with the internet and social media and self-diagnosing, that maybe I'm just having a low energy day, and that's normal. It doesn't mean I'm depressed or experiencing depression.
Correct.
Not to, and just to also look at the sympathetic. We could have those days where there's more hypervigilance, and maybe there's a little buzziness. We can experience symptoms related to anxiety, and may or may not have a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. Just that this is part of our human spectrum. And I don't know about y'all, but in doing this work, I've tried it myself, of trying to live in a very small quadrant of the spectrum, a small section of and it's rigid, it's inflexible, it's not real.
Yeah, it's good.
There's not much breathing room there, because we're trying to stay in this small window of tolerance when really the spectrum of life is broad. And so to know where we are and be able to come back to our sense of center without getting stuck for too long, that's what the youth want to know. They want to know that they're okay, and they want us to know to trust them. Well, in order to trust them, we got to trust ourselves first.
Yeah, that's good. The thing that spoke, that was all fantastic, but that there's an old coaching quote by John Whitmore who said, awareness is knowing what's going on around you. Self-awareness is knowing how you're responding to it. And I think that's purely from a coaching perspective, obviously not a neuroscience one, but I think it's the idea of the narratives that young people have been, as you beautifully articulated, in the digital world where we're bombarded incessantly with micro narratives, and they're always around success, influence, fun, happiness, buzz, bang, bang, bang. So those narratives tacitly and directly inform the way we perceive not just the world, but how we're reacting and responding to it. But we don't articulate it because we're just mirroring it rather than going, hang on, that's a messaging that I'm getting, but what do I do with that? I have to follow that messaging. I'm trying to figure out how to be. My identity is still forming. And so that I love that. I love that space of you saying it's okay. You're not, again, depressed. You're not mentally ill because you're feeling down. In fact, this is the pulse of, the rhythm of resilience, the pulse. It's really good, Jen. No, thank you for that. Dave, obviously, again, in your world, but you work a little bit with young people as well, too, in your space. Is that kind of an echo that you're hearing as well with young people?
That, and they want to feel heard, and valued as well. Not just oh yes, we have a youth representative on our board or at our table. Like, they truly want to have a voice. They want to truly feel heard, and they want to feel valued. And what's great, I was working with the youth group, actually teaching them how to podcast as a means to lift up their voice and the voices of their peers. They wanted to be able to provide and bring a platform to their peers so they could also have a voice and lift up their voices.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's one thing, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate in this space because been working with young
It's your
people.
podcast. You can.
Yeah. Well, I got the microphone. I make the rules. That's what I argue in the public square all the time. He has the microphone, makes the rules. You control language, you control culture, people. Alexander the Great worked that out a long time ago. Anyway, let's not go down that disgustingly manipulative road. I live in that space too often. But for me, and I work with young people for 44 years, and there's not a lot of, certainly settings can vary and change, but the same stories, the same issues, the same significance, identity, who am I, how am I? The first order questions. The second order question is, who am I, where am I going, who is going with me? The first order questions is, where do I come from? Why am I here? These are the questions that are underneath everything, and so they're trying to figure that out. And of course, the narratives and the culture are saying, oh, it's this, it's that, it's it, bang, 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 pop, 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 and influences, So this micro narrative that is okay. I remember at school. This is like your story, Jen. A little bit of a sidebar, but it's important. I remember doing drug ed in schools years ago, and when CSI, you remember that CSI show? Was huge. It was, and the teachers were saying, every kid in year 9 wants to be a CSI guy. And they can't even read properly. They can't even read properly, but they want to be CSI. And then, of course, now 20 years on, everybody wants to be an influencer. It's like, but what goes into that voice? You want to have a voice, it's great. What's informing your voice? Where is that coming from? Everything we learn has been taught at some level, either passively or actively. So for me, and I couldn't agree more, we work with young people and we want to platform them all the time. But it's, I've also been in settings where, and I'm going down a rabbit hole here, sorry about this, but I'm in settings where young people are informing drug policy and they're all drug users. So you can imagine a 17-year-old who's taking psychedelics is now informing government policy and how you should manage young people using drugs. You see, right there, to me, that's just, wow, an alarm bell going off all over the place, because you're not just dealing with a person anymore, you're dealing with a substance manipulated person. And so what's actually informing that their worldview? What's informing their values? What's informing their identity? And how is that then expressed? So in that space, now I'm throwing a curveball in there. What do you do in that context when there is dysfunction? And I'm going to call drug use a dysfunction. I'm not saying it's bad or whatever. I would say it's a dysfunction, and it does damage. There's no upside to this other than the lame, pathetic statement I've heard from so many clinicians. Oh, what about fun, Shane? Really? That's your response to drug use? It's got the fun element? But, this dysfunction, what are kind of things you guys find in that? If you bump into that, what do you deal with in that space?
I intentionally bump into it because it's part of my mission. The intersection I work at is trauma-informed care, nervous system, trauma, and addiction, because it's a wide intersection. Yeah. And to me, substances, whether it's gambling, food, alcohol, tobacco, drugs,
whatever.
Yes, they're all Band-Aids to tune our nervous system to a point of where we feel, not we, Jen, the thinking human, but where our nervous system feels like it can function. And that's really the language of the nervous system. I can or I can't. Yeah. And we all, as humans, part of our nervous system is striving towards balance. Now, balance for a non-caffeine human, a non-caffeinated human, they turn it up in the morning differently than I do with my 1 cup of coffee with mushroom powder and, my collagen, a little cream, that's just my way, but it is still a substance. And so I really appreciate understanding the nervous system aspect behind alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, ATOT in general, of understanding what is the nervous system really asking for. Is it asking for more energy in the system? Is it asking for less energy, less pain in the system to quiet and numb it down?
Good.
Or is
Good
it
language.
asking for really connection and belonging? Like what is driving beneath the behavior of, the label of drug user? I really dislike that label. It's altered. Sure, it's an altered state, but it's driven. The nervous system is driving part of that addiction. It rewires our brain. And
Absolutely.
so that's part of my soapbox that I jump up on. And part of actually what I've been focusing the last year on is to bring awareness to trauma-informed nervous system understanding about alcohol, tobacco, and drug use.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. That's great. And Dave,
I just have him. I just send him over to talk to Jen. No.
Yep, that makes sense. So, Jen, you used to fly free airfares to Ohio, I believe. Is that correct? For your sessions?
Fly them on in for sessions. Yeah.
We'll meet by the river. It's the best place to meet.
That's it. No, that's good. Seriously, that sort of, the reason I wanted to clearly harvest that from you in this short time together was to, then talk about this year's, World Resiliency Week campaign and the exceptional strategy that's, you architects have crafted. I think it's really, really important. Now, World Resiliency Week was set up as an internationally focused offering. That was important, and a collaborative platform to bring together proactive preventionists and community change agents from as many sectors in the societal space as we can engage. Grassroots community enterprises, consultants, academics, policy practitioners, the list goes on. We landed on this week as the 26th to the 30th of each year, of June, 26th to the 30th of June each year. Now, that coincides with what used to be called World Drug Day, which is now the World Day against drug misuse and drug trafficking. I think that's one of the reasons we deliberately did that, is to pair it in a more proactive way, because we saw the drift in the drug issue. It was against World Drug Day, World Day Against Drugs. Sorry, I'll get it out. And then it's kind of morphing into this again acceptance, this normalization messaging, and again, like politics is downstream from culture. We all know that. So it just follows the cultural zeitgeist and rather than leading it. And so that's why we thought, no, we need to have a proactive and a preventative messaging in space. That's why we paired it with that particular week. So not to compete with it, but as a complement, to say, guys, we get this. It's a real issue. And as you've just articulated, Jen, it's identifying how we engage that issue and the messaging behind it, and what are some of the real issues that are driving substance engagement. I think that's really important. So helping us focus back on that. And I use the word fulcrum here. Now, fulcrum, we know as a mechanical thing, it's like a lever. But a fulcrum from a human person perspective, a fulcrum is a person or an individual that supplies capabilities for action. And what I think this particular season we're going into, because the program's not just for a week, it's for the rest of the year, and what the things you guys have been developing are really great. So let's talk about some of the things you've done. Again, prime us up, give us some insights, and the theme, obviously, the pulse of resilience, fall, feel, rise, great. What are some of the things that you guys have, with Sneha obviously and Adam as well? What were your sort of the crafting time? What were some of the aha moments for you as you came together with this particular strategy?
So for me, my recollection, of course, I have been blown up, so my memory's not always on point. But early on, we just talked about how oftentimes we feel tired. We feel even the youth, the adults, people can even just feel hopeless in moments and just blah. But yet we're bombarded with messaging, social media, TV, movies, whatever it may be, that glamorizes the unhealthy coping mechanisms. And it adds this layer of pressure to look fine. It's okay. I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm not down. I'm not sad. And that's just, it gets, like Jen was saying, just so much noise. And so we didn't want to come up with another, just say no, stop this, stop that. We wanted something that would make resilience just practical and shareable and in micro moments of resilience and everyday resilience that youth and adults can just embody and become a part of who they are, their daily operations. And we even kind of stretched the idea of how could we start to shift the algorithm, that messaging that we are being bombarded with.
Yeah.
How can we bring those micro moments of everyday resilience back into this digital space to maybe start to shift that algorithm so we're not bombarded with all of that stuff? But that's my early recognition or remember.
Yeah.
See,
Wow.
I can't even get the words out, but recall.
No. I think, wow, beautifully articulated for an ABI brother. But no, seriously, mate, it was brilliant. I love that. Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. Jen, for you, I mean, yeah.
Dave, you're a systems level thinker, right? So you just really saw how we can take this from information, education, awareness to tools to making it useful.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's where we really overlap in values of let's educate, let's share the message, but also let's not leave people hanging without tools to make it useful. Yeah. I feel like there's the ethical component of saying, okay, now that you've built up this awareness and this self-awareness, now that you're deep in your feels, to be there with support is really important. And something that Adam said really landed with us. And I remember he had shared a high school rally, a youth gathering at the high school where they called him in and they had just lost someone, a peer to death by suicide.
Oh, wow.
And they weren't looking to get amped up and drummed up. They were mourning, they were grieving. Yeah. And that bypassing, that toxic positivity aspect we can see on social media and whatnot, and many it finds its way into mental health spaces sometimes too, and in the mindfulness spaces for that matter. Something when Adam shared that with us, it was that critical moment for us where it's like, that's real. It's not about just pumping up and going back up into the sun, the driving, the get on with it, bypassing it. It's really, how can we be together, be real, be human in those moments with support to grieve appropriately. And now that we've discharged that survival energy, we've metabolized that pain, now we can get on. Otherwise, it's just going to come back up and then lead to challenges with mental health, challenges with substance use, abuse and misuse. It's just one of those things where, what do they say? Heal it to feel it. But what does that mean? We're really putting words and tools to how to do that. Yeah.
Wow. And I've seen some of the strategies and some of the architecture of this, and I've just gone, wow, this is great, guys. Because I think, it starts with understanding. It starts with knowledge and insight and wisdom. Absolutely. But then it's application. That's the fulcrum side. That's the supplying capability for action, which I think you guys have really done in this platform. And it'll evolve and burgeon over the next 12 months as well. So it's not just 1 week of, then we're done. Tick that box to move on. The World Resiliency Week, World Resiliency Day platform is live 24/7, obviously 365 days a year. And people, our partners and our ambassadors can contribute to that platform all the time. And you guys have been great contributors over the years, and we continue to look to that. But some of our other partners, for different reasons, are a lot more passive in that space. And that's fine too. They're smaller operators or they're time poor, and we get that as well. But the platform is a collaborative international platform. We encourage people to participate who want to be part of this and enjoying that, and just some basic requirements. But obviously, clearly, you want to be empowering people and adding to people. And we obviously work clearly against the substance use. It's not a reaction to, but it's a solution to that. And so we're bringing the solutions. Clearly, we have to call out what is happening and the shocking outcomes of substance use. There's no getting around that, and that's just getting worse with the normalization messaging and the permission models that are constantly being afforded to the culture through particularly the first world West. But then we're going to come with a proactive messaging of why this is different. It's like one of the statements we have at Delgado is, knowing why I don't have to makes it easier to say no. And I think that's one of the empowerment tools. So what is it? Why is the yes mode so prevalent? Why is the yes option so demanding? Why, again, what's informing you? What are the factors? What voices are you listening to? And the old saying goes, and I love to, this, Dave, I love to quote and source the quote. I don't like to borrow people's quotes. But what you pay attention to, you give permission to shape you. And that's just a bottom line reality and an anthropology. So look, I'm really excited by the campaign. And I know there's going to be a little sort of apps, sort of live apps that we can feed into and get some, feedback, live feedback, so you can be more practical in the way you manage your emotional space. Of course, there's the bounce factor test it's a basic test on checking your bounce factor you can go through that. It's just very basic, but it's good. People go, oh yeah, well, maybe these are some of the things I need to look at. So that's on the website. That's been there forever. So what can we talked about a little bit about the resources. What's one, both of you, what's one thing you're really hoping to sort of, to get out of, that issues from this campaign in the next 12 months?
It would make my heart so, so happy to see youth from around the globe creating content, sharing their everyday resilience practices. Like to see a youth member put up an Instagram reel or any sort of clip and say, yeah, I was having a rough day. I was feeling a little blah. And, I decided to go outside and touch grass. And I just sat there and I noticed the way the wind was blowing the leaves on the tree. And I could feel the air blow across my face. And it just brought this ease and comfort to me that it'll be all right. If I saw youth doing that would feel like a warm hug.
Beautiful.
I'm already giving myself goosebumps just picturing it even. Like,
beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that
I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I answered it.
Look, I think taking back some of these wonderful, and now even medical practitioners and even insurance agencies, for example, Sweden, just to digress a little bit, I think it's Sweden at the moment, as part of their health insurance, if you spend a certain amount of time outdoors and blah, 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 they'll pay for that. So they're recognizing that. So what we do is try to wrest that back from and I'm going to use this word, I'm not meant to be pejorative anyway, but the hippy dippy kind of space, which has made that kind of arena a little bit ill, people, it's like, and that's not that arena. That's real. That's engagement with creation. It's wonderful, and it shouldn't be at the purview of a certain, eclectic group of whatevers. We're wresting those things back. And I think one of the things that this is doing is, again, wresting those tools back from bad, I don't know, what's the word, like the bad, something, it's a bad image, which I think is not the right answer, but it's an image that's not correct. And that's great. What about you, Jen? What's kind of one of the things you're sort of looking for in the next 12 months?
It's getting back to our roots. It's quite literally getting back to our ancestral way of being with nature, rather than the extractive aspect of what can we get from it.
Yeah, that's good.
And I find that to also be very prevalent with youth, that even when we look at millennials and Gen Z, there's a bad reputation about workforce retention and presence in the workforce. And what I've come to understand is that the younger generations are challenging this concept that need to work for a certain corporation from that extractive, transactional perspective. There is, like, to ask the question why. They're asking these deeper questions why, that if we don't answer it when we're a youth, become like some of my beloved clients that are 40, 50, 67, and yes, even 80 years old, asking, who am I? What do I like? What makes me tick? And so I think this is just a very basic human nature, that some cultures do it better than others. And we've suppressed a lot of culture that did connect to nature. And so nervous system, again, it's the language is can or can't, but really the pulse is rhythm. And so that's gets back to our World Resiliency Week of it's rhythm. That's our rhythm, the coherence, the clarity in our whole physiology is what then makes us feel good when we have that rhythm. But when we lack the rhythm, when we lack the connection from nature, the pulse of the earth, that the hertz, the Schneeman resonance, when we feel disconnected from home, that it causes chaos in our system. And so it's hippy dippy, but it's also ancestral, and you know what? It's science too.
So I'm saying it's not hippy dippy. It's not.
It's a big umbrella of this is. Touch grass, hug a tree. There's something to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a forest officer in another life, and overseeing the forest, and it's harvested, and it's a renewable resource. But looking at how that works and silviculture, and I won't go down that hot rabbit hole today, but it's a remarkable journey. And the lessons I teach from that space, even with young people, it's about how silviculture works and how the regenerative processes of tree growing and what that means. Anyway, that's another story. That's brilliant, Jen. Look, to finish up, I normally ask a question about fences and ambulances. I'm not going to do that today with you guys. This is now you sort of partly answered it, so there's a little bit of a repetition or potential tautology here. So we'll see how we go with this. But from both of you, right? From both of you. If there was one appeal to make to our listeners about resilience building in this coming year's theme, one thing, and I know I'm making it difficult, and maybe you've answered this already, Jen. What would it be? Your appeal to listeners, engage with this. What would it be? Either one. Go, Dave.
I'm going to borrow from Adrienne Marie Brown when they say more prep. No, that's not at all what they say. When they say more presence, less prep, more presence. And so just embrace the learning lessons. I don't think there are mistakes. If so, I would be out for the count by now. But there's always a lesson to learn. That is resilience. Resilience is not perfection.
Correct.
It's really knowing where you are and and reset in the moment, recharge throughout the day, and restore appropriately at the end of the day. That's real resilience.
Wonderful. Dave.
Ditto.
Yep,
I would say
that is a podcast now.
I'll follow the similar line in that. To me, I want all the listeners to know that, resilience isn't solely your ability to embrace the suck and drive on. It isn't that constant intensity. It's
good. It's good.
It's learning to notice what's happening around you, what's happening in your life and in your body, and responding with awareness, with kindness, and with tools.
Yep. Brilliant. Well, I think that really does encapsulate certainly what I've seen, and I was on the edge of this because this is all this team's work, which is great, which is what we always wanted from the outset of this. It's an international platform, and it's not owned by a particular person or group. It's owned by the network, and we're really excited about this year, and the 2026 for our listeners, the 2026 World Resiliency Week campaign. Again, it is the pulse of resilience. Fall, feel, and then rise, and not just a catchy statement, not just a warm philosophical button to push, but it's got resources and tools and creating not just awareness, but the capacity to be able to carry that awareness into some really effective, transformative outcomes in your world. Not just your world. It's not just about us, me and mine. It's about our community as well. And that's what we're really here about a World Resiliency Week platform. Jen Schneeman and Dave Closson, thank you so much for being part of it today. It's just wonderful having you both on, and especially you, Jen, as your first time here, and maybe we'll do it again soon. But thank you so much. It's been enlightening and it's been educational. Sorry, I'm losing my words. My day is now unfurling. But it's just a wonderful time together. And those out there who are listening to this for the first time, please engage with the platform. It's not just an event for end of June. It's an all-year platform. It's something you might want to be part of. You think you can add value to it. It's not just about you having a platform to sell your thing, to market your product, to bring your whatever it is you bring. It's how can I add value to a global space that can really help people become resilient and become the best that they can be, as much as I can contribute to that. I just put that invitation out there to our listeners today to be a part of that. And also check out DHC Solutions with Dave and Real Human Performance with Jen. Just exceptional work, both unique in their own right and just add value to everybody. And okay, until next time, people, as always, subscribe where you can, share the content where you can, but always do your very, very best to not add to the unnecessary harm, but be part of the solution. Until next time, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Prevention Leaders Podcast with Dave Closson. Since prevention is better together, make sure you click the subscribe button and share this and other episodes with a friend. If you have a topic idea or guest suggestion, follow us on social media or email us at info@preventionleaders.com.